Happy holiday to you. It's still the AM show. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Let's now have that conversation about agric in the country, even as we put a spotlight on farmers today. Edward Karowe joins us via phone. Good morning to you, Mr. Karowe. Thank you so much. And happy Farmers Day to you.
Yeah, thank you. I welcome it. And then let me also use your medium to extend happy Farmers Day to all the people who have been listening to us and to farmers, and then to consumers as well.
Right. What thoughts come to your mind even as we take time off today to celebrate those who put food on our table?
Come again.
I'm asking what thoughts come to your mind even as we celebrate the day?
Well, it's a day which we cherish that set aside to recognize farmers. Everybody will talk about farmers today. That is refreshing, but we wish that they can be translated into addressing the challenges of farmers.
And we do this annually. You share your concerns with us, you raise them up, and some of them get fixed. I know that it hasn't been too rosy for farmers, especially in this recent time, when we talk about the cost of fertilizer, even the cost of seedlings and all that, everything shooting up, and farmers having to increase the cost of food that eventually they sell to the consuming public. But what is that one thing you would say has been positive, at least within the last year or two, for farmers in this country?
Well, Lincoln, the day is a ritualistic day, which we do it annually, and it doesn't seem we have varied so much about the way we go about it. The challenges remain, and as I've indicated, it's just about the publication that today is a Farmers Day. And people will know that it's today we are using to recognize farmers. Now, we also have made the day a public holiday. To that extent, those who are not going to work today and they are not farmers, they are happy. But it has a negative side. For real farmers, if you are not being celebrated today, you are not going to take an award. No farmer can be legislated to stay at home, because this is the harvesting season for the entire country. Okay. And then we are also threatened by bushfires and so on. So no farmer who is not compelled to be at the celebration ground will leave his farm to go or sit at home because it has been legislated so. So the recognition part is there, that it is a Farmers Day, but the benefits that go with that recognition is what farmers are yet to benefit. And this is something that we think that every year you have a theme for the celebration. We don't ensure that we actually fulfill that theme. And then the following year we get another theme. It's just like we just, it's more of an academic exercise, find and appropriate a theme that will, be nice in the ears of people. Within 1 year, then you move and take another year. They should be accounting to us. You see, we should be accounting to ourselves, because we do this for ourselves, that we brought about these things. Some years back we have eat what we grow. Today, can we say that we are eating what we are growing? We have not fulfilled that thing. Another year, you see we are talking about investing in agriculture. Today, we have to ask ourselves, have we actually invested enough in agriculture? So that the themes will have meaning. We just don't put the themes there. 1 year time, we have not fulfilled that theme, then we move to another theme. So these are things that the Farmers Day celebration can be modified to become more relevant. Otherwise, what we are only having is the usual pageantry. After that, what next? The challenges still remain.
Mr. Karoe, my question to you was to find out if there was anything positive to talk about in the last year or two for farmers in this country. But from your response, am I safe to suggest that there's really been nothing positive and exciting for you as farmers?
No, you see, the point is, if you're a farmer in the last 2 years, for instance, if you take 2021, in 2021, farmers did not get fertilizer at the right time. And that is very critical to farmers. And if you don't get the fertilizer at the right time, and you even come and get the fertilizer late, and you apply it, you will not still get the appropriate yields. For the past 2 years, farmers have been struggling across all the crop areas. Are you talking about maize? Are you talking about rice? Are you talking about tomatoes? Are you talking about soybean? What are you talking about? It has been a very difficult period for farmers because the poultry farmers, you can't see that they have something to, saying this is good for the past 2 years. If you take maize farmers, you can't see that this has been good for them because within the last 2 years, they have been struggling even to get fertilizer. They don't get it.
Right.
If you pick crop by crop and those areas, you come to realize that the tomato farmers, they've been crying. And you go to other areas where they produce tomatoes, you go to the Chimantia areas, all those areas, you go to the northern part where they also produce tomatoes. You come to realize that it's all about cry. So I am sorry. It's not always the case that there must be good and bad. And sometimes it's not like the coin whereby if there's positive, there must be negative, or if there's negative, there must be positive.
Right.
Yeah. It has been a very difficult period for farmers.
Yeah.
If you look at those who are not even hooked on the Plant for Food and Jobs program, for instance, like the plantain farmers, what would they say is good for them? They produce and then the thing gets rotten. You see, how would those, the young farmers, when they produce, the rows are bad and they cannot carry to where it must go to, they lose. So in all these things is very difficult, and we just need to accept like that. I think sometimes we, as a people, we want to always romanticize issues. Say, oh, everything is, it's okay. When in actual fact, it's not okay. But when you don't admit that there's a serious problem, you cannot look for a serious solution for it. If you think that the problem is small, then you look for a small problem, that means solution. Yeah.
And my colleague earlier, Benjamin Akapo, during his Blunt Thoughts session, gave us a fair idea of what the dwindling returns are for the agric sector. So all that you've said ties into that. If you missed it, you can watch it on Facebook. Is on our page uploaded right now. Benjamin Akapo's Blunt Thoughts. So, Mr. Karoe, let's just look ahead. And you mentioned the issue of the theme for the year. Let me just bring that. This year's theme is accelerating agricultural development through value addition. This government, prior to assuming office, spoke to us about its ideas and plans for the agric sector. We've seen the Planting for Food and Jobs, rearing for food and rearing for rearing for food and jobs. There is the issue of value addition, which has to do with creating factories, and we saw 1D1F come up. We saw the Ekumfi fruit juice factory also coming up. Would you say that these are right steps in accelerating development of agriculture through value addition?
You see, certainly the value addition in the agriculture sector is minimal. It's minimal. If you take the the Kumfi, their factory and those other ones, you see that even along the line, they were not able to get raw materials for their factories. If you also see the fact that those factories are facing cheaper imports from outside the country, you can see that they are still struggling to gain their feet. So, yes, you can have it. And there are smaller factories. And once you have smaller factories and you are faced with this stiff competition from cheap imports from outside, of course, you can't grow beyond your environment. Two, the whole concept about one district, one factory. You see, how do they feed into a bigger one? Are they intermediary processing units that now process and their output becomes an input for a bigger, factory? If that is not the case, you realize that these factories cannot grow beyond, because every district, if you look at the way our districts are, we have almost the same crops, and they are mainly agro-based. So it would have been good if we put it as every region, you have a big factory, and that will mop up the raw materials from the entire region for the factory. Because if a factory is not big enough, and it may not be able to benefit from economies of scale, it may not be able to pay its workers well. So you will say you are creating jobs, but those jobs themselves are not quality jobs. Those jobs themselves are not decent jobs. So you may tickle yourself to say, oh, we are creating jobs. But when in actual fact, those jobs cannot even make people live a decent life. And that's what we have all over Accra. Everybody is running around that they are working. But look, if you look at some of the workers, they even lose. At the end of the day, they spend more than even what they earn in a day. Or they virtually, at the close of day, at the close of month, are left with nothing, to save. Such type of jobs are not the type of jobs that we should be thinking of and creating and promoting. We should be promoting jobs that are real, that are sustainable, and that are say that someone can live on them. So, yes, why go around and you find out that those factories are, facing very serious challenges. And their serious challenges is who picks their produce or their products? Who picks them? So, and you leave them to compete in the real market with this cheap imported goods. Again, you can take rice. Look, local producers, rice producers, have not got modern quality processing plants. And because they don't have that, they are overrun by imported cheap rice. And it's all over, everywhere. If you just step to any shop, the number of different brands of rice you will get, it's worrying. How can local rice producers survive under such unbridled, unprotective market for them?
Mr. Kara, my final question to you, and I would like you to answer this in about a minute and a half, if you can. Just before you came on, we shared the story of some young pupils of the McCarthy Hill School who are being encouraged to grow what they eat. In fact, they were taken through the process of nurturing their plants, sowing, nurturing, and harvesting, and the challenges they faced and how they overcame them. How do you think we can extend this idea? I mean, considering the times that we're in, to people at least planting very essential vegetables and other greens for themselves?
It's a good idea, and that is what we have to make sure that the idea grows, and the idea grow. You can't continuously depend on imports for your consumption. We must eat what we grow, or we must grow what we eat. And that should not only be a slogan, that must also be a national, agenda. And if it's a national agenda, the national policies must give weight to that agenda. But there are many people who actually also eat what they grow, depending on where they find themselves. They have some small backyard garden that put their vegetables that what is they're eating. But it's not enough. A national policy will have to constrain imports and promote, large-scale production. Our major problem also is we don't also have large-scale production. And anyone who wants to invest into large-scale production sometimes are faced with constraints which they did not know before they went into the production. Because later on, government policy undermines their efforts. Because it takes time to grow a business. And for the period that you are growing the business, there must be policy direction that protects the local producers.
Right.
Yeah, and when that is not there, many people lose their capital after they have invested so much into it. And that is not an incentive for people, young men, to venture into
farming. I appreciate your time here this morning. Mr. Karowe is General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, and we've been talking about farming in this country, even as we celebrate our farmers today. So what do you have to say to our farmers as we dedicate this day to them? And also, do you have any predictions or expectations for the Black Stars game against Uruguay today? Join us with your thoughts via phone and on social media. We'll get interactive right after this. Do stay.